Hi everyone, and welcome to My Left Ear. It is September 11th, 2024. It's a memoriam for 9/11, which is 23 years old today. And I'm guessing that most of the people watching me have very vivid memories of where they were when 9/11 happened. I had a very close friend whose brother was with the first building that went down with one of the biggest financial firms. And she and her sister, I think they went to like 15 funerals and memorials, maybe a lot more. Just want to acknowledge the people that died that day and the people who got sick and died following that. So that's what I wanted to say. I'm Carrie Freeman. This is a liberal channel, and all summer through November 5th, we are devoted to getting Kamala Harris and Tim Walz elected. And you are with me at My Left Ear. I made some notes, handwritten notes about the debate, and I was going to transfer them on to, typing, and I thought that's just going to take an awful lot of time. So today we're just going to wing it, and I'm going to go from my handwritten notes. But before that, I want to remind everybody that I think I slightly mentioned it the other day. And this is Petey Freeman. Petey is my co-host. He sleeps, but he's very comforting, and he likes to be here. Pete, hi. He's gonna bathe himself. He likes to hear the sound of my voice, so he just gets up here when he sees I'm setting up. It's like, okay, we're gonna do that, Mom, and we love it. We love his company. Anyway, in 2020, I think it was 2002. Now I'm not sure. You know what, I'm gonna save this note because I do not want to be inaccurate. So I'm just gonna move on, but I'm gonna get back to this because I think I typed in the wrong date, and I don't want to do that. So here we go with some of my notes. And you know what, the first note that I wanted to, we're definitely winging it today, and I hope you can hang with me. The one thing I do want to say is Kamala Harris really kind of owned this debate from the very beginning, because when she came out and crossed the stage directly to Donald Trump and put out her hand, he was not expecting it. And he was uncomfortable. He was uncomfortable that she was walking towards him. And then he does that weird thing with handshakes where he pulls people in to dominate them. But it threw him off. And she established her dominance when she did that. And she said, I don't know if anybody heard it, but she said Kamala Harris. So she said her name as if to say, this is how you say my name. So that was good. Now I'm gonna start from the beginning of my notes. I'm gonna go back to my runes reading about the debate, which was just totally correct in terms of the runes, where Kamala got the rune of wholeness twice about the debate night. And it just could not have been a better rune for her to get. She presented as whole, and the book in the runes talks about wholeness, that which your soul yearns for, requires, and she is wholeness. She embodies wholeness, and she proved that last night. I thought I'm going to be jumping around, by the way. I thought one of the looniest moments that she made the best of was Trump saying, you know, in Springfield, they're eating cats and dogs. The Haitians are eating cats and dogs, the pets of people that live there. And she just looked at him incredulously. She let him finish, and she said, talk about extreme. She had a lot of great faces last night in her responses, in her observations, an eyebrow lift, the subtlest, like, oh no, very effective. And she laughed. She laughed at him. So when she said talk about extreme, I was struck by how she always brings things down to a simple equation without sounding like overly educated, overly verbose, using fancy words. She's just like, talk about extreme. I love that. It was so down to earth. She was really prepared. We thought she would be. She was detailed. She was confident. And, you know, the first, maybe 10, 15 minutes, I don't have it memorized. It was sort of, you know, calm. And there was an attempt on Trump's part to, you know, sound sort of normal and like he knows what he's doing. And then it went off. I think Kamala's performance exceeded people's expectations generally. Generally feeling that, well, first of all, I didn't watch the whole thing because I found it unbearable. But then I followed up later with all the commentary and notes and moments that were rebroadcast. But in those first 15 minutes, I looked at Donald Trump and I went, he is heavily sedated. He was on some medicine, okay? I don't know what. I don't know whether it was antipsychotic or it was, you know, heavy Xanax. I don't have a clue, but he was. And then I went online and people said, he's on something. And then he could not look at her. He could look sort of sideways towards her. She made a point of looking right at him, talking right to him, but he didn't. He just was he scowled. His face the gravity just pulled his face down. Someone should do a caricature of what his face looked like. And then sometimes he just his eyes kind of went like that, and then they opened, and then they went like that, and they opened. And he did a lot of damage to himself last night, lying, name calling, going on and on about the Haitians eating the cats and dogs. I mean, and then, you know, there's been a kind of split perceptions of how the moderators, I know someone who hated the moderators. I know that David Muir called him president, and I don't like it when anybody calls him president. He's the ex-president, so I didn't like that. I like David Muir, but David Muir did come in and call him out on the cats and dogs, and you know, and Trump said, well, I saw it and I heard it, and we'll see how that plays out. And he was just trying to recover from that humiliation. Here's something, like I said, I'm all over the place, but news came out this morning, you may know this already, that Taylor Swift came out with her endorsement. I think she did the endorsement almost directly after the debate. And it was a perfectly written statement. I don't have it to read to you. You can look that up. Perfectly written statement. Lawrence O'Donnell was blown away by her statement. It was, okay, here it is. The statement came out 27 minutes after the debate ended. And she went on to say, I watched the debate, blah, 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 blah. I heard everything, and I'm putting everything behind Kamala Harris. And then in addition, and this is, I think, what came out this morning, is she is playing Florida. She's doing 3 concerts in Florida in the 3rd week of October that go right up to, and then when she closes her 3rd night, the next day, voting starts. I said this a long time ago about Taylor Swift, and I say it with admiration only. She is strategic. She is remarkably smart. Remarkably smart. She's an old soul. So this is incredible because they need this bump in Florida, and she might push it over. But the fact that she's going, I have a feeling she knew she was endorsing ahead of yesterday, because how can you set up this concert without kind of knowing in advance, right? That's okay with me. That's okay with me. And I do want to make a little side note that today on Twitter, Elon Musk I just don't call it X, okay? It's Twitter. He was wrong for changing it to X, and he's really annoyed that no one will call it X. He put out, I guess they had a little repartee, and he wrote, okay, Taylor, you win, but I'm still gonna give you a baby. And then blah, blah, blah. It was really gross, and it was really insulting. And I haven't seen any pushback since then, but I can only imagine how furious Travis Kelce is. I bet that just sent him through the roof. And I don't know how tall Elon Musk is, but Travis is like 6'5". He pretty much towers over everybody. That they look so good together because she's tall and he's even taller. So Elon Musk is just disgusting. So that's that. That's all of I want to say about Elon Musk and Taylor, other than I love Taylor Swift. I love Taylor Swift. I'm looking at my notes. He would not make eye contact with her, but she looked at him. People other than myself, like Michael Steele and the pundits, said he's terrified of her. He's terrified of her. But I want to add to that, he hates her. He hates her. She's a woman of color. She's highly educated. She has balls for days. So blah, blah, blah. I don't know if you know this, but Arlo Guthrie, the folk singer, his father was Woody Guthrie, very famous. And Woody Guthrie hated Fred Trump. And Woody Guthrie wrote a song about the Trumps evicting black people from low-income apartments in New York, making them homeless. And there's even a story about a woman being carried out in her bed. That's how cruel. So Woody Guthrie wrote a song years ago, many years ago, about this. And it's called I Ain't Got No Home Anymore. You can look it up and listen to it. I ain't got none. He's speaking for the black people that were displaced by Fred Trump and young Donald. And I thought, well, I kind of relating that song now to Donald Trump. He got no home anymore. He's got no home anymore. I mean, he's got Mar-a-Lago. It's probably going to be taken away from him. But he's not going to, he's got no home anymore. He's moving out. Now, one moment that I thought was one of Kamala's greatest moments, everybody's going to have an opinion, right? This is just up my air conditioner. You know what? I'm going to get up and turn it off because a couple of people had trouble with it and it's not too horrible today. So I'm going to do this weird thing. I'm going to go turn it off and I'll be right back. And you can watch Petey for a second. Okay, I'm back. Oh, and he changed positions. So I always like you to see him. So Kamala, I don't remember what was the context, but she said, you're not running against Joe Biden. You're running against me. Oh my God. It was great. I don't know if you remember it. It was great. People think the pundits were talking, I'm sorry, I'm back to Taylor, that she got infuriated about childless cat ladies and the AI image of her sort of dressed like the flag and promoting Donald Trump. Now, she hasn't brought it up. I think this endorsement is perfect, you know, for that reason. All right, I think I got that. I'm just gonna throw that into the trash and keep going. And I told you I think he was medicated. I'm not the only one. Other people said he's on something. Well, they probably, to try to keep him somewhat calm, George Conway, who has taken it upon himself to teach everybody about malignant narcissism and sociopathy. And he's really educated now. I mean, this is his whole thing. And he was on Jimmy Kimmel last night, and they were talking about the debate. And George Conway said, Trump was beaten down in this debate, the likes of which I have never seen. And he said that Kamala was pitch perfect. You could really see her preparation, and you could see her ability to be in the moment. And it's making me think about actors for a minute. I'm just going to share this because I think it's interesting, especially because it just flew in. I know a lot about acting. I'm trained. I was in tons of classes. It was my, theater was my major in college. And real actors prepare. They do a lot of homework. I mean, overall, I'm making a big blanket statement, but overall, they do a lot of homework, a lot of research. They create a backstory for their characters, because that backstory, even though it's not in the screenplay or the script, it comes through the performance. But what nobody really kind of knows, the good acting teachers, and I've had a few, basically say you do all that work and then you throw it out and you walk onto the sound stage to do the movie, or you walk out to the theater stage on Broadway and you just do the role. And all that back preparation comes into play, but nobody sees it. Well, this is what Kamala did. She had this incredible preparation. I mean, they set up a whole podium and the whole thing, and she had a Trump person there, and it was, man, it probably is a documentary to see how she prepared for this, but that's what she did. Just like what an actor does, prepared, and then kind of threw it out and was there, was present, was in the moment. All right, we're looking here. So so Taylor is performing in Florida, October 18th, 19th, and 20th, and early voting begins on the 21st. It's incredible timing. It's such a strategic, and I love her. I'm gonna keep saying that. Talk about extreme, I told you. Now, one thing I did do, you might think this is a little cray, but I just watched with the sound off a little bit. I wanted to see the looks, the body language, the responses, and that's where I really got Trump's rage. And when she got to the part about, she said something like, I'm gonna do something a little odd. I'm gonna tell everybody to go to one of his rallies. No, really, you've gotta see one of his rallies, because you wanna see people walk out because they're bored and they have no idea what he's talking about. and you know, he's obsessed with these crowds, and he doesn't have the crowds. Well, he accused her of having no crowds, and it was all AI. That went nowhere. So Morning Joe, I was shocked this morning, said, I hope some of you turn the sound off and watch. And I went, oh my God, I did that, because it was very instructive. It's really, really get to study body language and the nuances, So here, after it was all over, there was a place on the premises called the Spin Room, and that's where the people like Claire McCaskill and the journalists are all hanging out, and it's a big soupy group of people that are covering this thing. Well, he went right from the debate stage into the Spin Room to let everybody know how good he did. Cringeworthy, correct? Cringeworthy. And then today, and I didn't pay a lot of attention to it because frankly, he said something that was like 150% projection. He said things like, I don't know how she's going to come back from this. She should be embarrassed. All the things that we are saying about him, he's trying to convince people that she failed. She was an embarrassment. And he went into the Spin Room to lie and spin and gaslight because he couldn't take it. Like, he knows. You know what I mean? Like, he knew. He knew and he knows, but that's how he does it, okay? All right, the people like the split screen. I like the split screen also. I don't have dentures, by the way. It's just hard to say it. Because you really could capture both of them with the split screen. He was asked about the 2020 election, wouldn't answer. He was asked about January 6th, wouldn't answer, avoided, and he pretty much came out and said he would not defend Ukraine. And he really wouldn't answer about the national abortion ban. He was evasive. I don't have, you know, his exact words. He insulted today the moderators. They were the worst. They were against him. They were just checking on him. That's really all they were doing. They were pretty neutral. And then they asked about, he said, you know, there's going to be a healthcare plan. Well, he talked about that at the end of his presidency over and over and over, and there was never a healthcare plan. So, you know, that was called out. That was called out. And Kamala did say at one point, people are exhausted from this old playbook. And she meant your old playbook. Cory Booker this morning said Kamala was clear and convincing, able and ready to bring us into the future. He called it a master class, and I love that term, master class. I refer to Lawrence O'Donnell as his show is always, to me, a master class because he's heads and tails above most people that are on the air right now. But master class in her style and her strength. She was serious and substantive, but she also had her moments of humor, and she did smile and she did laugh, and she really did everything that I was kind of complaining about Jen Psaki. Pronounced it right, my friend. As I said, Kamala did not need Jen Psaki's input or advice. She's so smart. Her team is so smart. Everything she does has been pretty flawless. That I would say prior to this, I would say just leave her alone because she's going to do everything really right, really great, because that's how she's built. That's her intelligence, her emotional intelligence, her intuition. You know, she has an intuition. I know this I feel it. It was very evident when she picked Tim Walz, and she was so right. She was so right to do that. So those are my notes. It's an agreement that she exceeded. She was extraordinary. And then she leaves and gets on a plane with her husband, and they're off to someplace to continue working. And her attitude was not like to bask in the glory of the sun and her brilliance. It was like, okay, we got that done. Now we're going to keep working. And honestly, that's how she's built. We got that done. And now we're just going to keep on going. She's not one to take that glory like Trump is. She's about work. Let's get this done. Let's work until the last bloody minute. Those are my words. All right, now I'm going back to my first note because I'm thinking all I did was transpose two numbers. So I'm pretty sure, reasonably sure, that I'm talking about 2002, which was a long time ago. And there was all this kerfuffle about there's a red wave, the Republicans are going to sweep the House, they're going to take over the House. I mean, it was obnoxious, and the opposite happened. Democrats took the House. There was not a red wave. So remember that when you listen to the polls and you listen to pundit politician predictions. This happened in 2002, and I remember the day after, people were just like, what? Because they believed the polls, and I think we just need to be careful. So remember that. That was really great, and I think that might follow, this year. So I'm gonna go into some personal good evidence. Now, good evidence is that Kamala Harris, our next president, got fantastic reviews and did the pitch perfect job last night. It's really, really good. And then we just keep working because there's not a huge spike yet. And I wanna reiterate something that I alluded to last episode, that I just feel, my left ear really feels that there's a lot of closet Republicans. They're going to vote Democrat, and they're not going to tell their best friends. A lot of women aren't going to tell their husbands. I mean, I read a couple of women on Twitter that said, I'm not going to tell my husband that I'm voting for Kamala. And I think there's going to be more than expected of that because they're afraid. They're afraid of their next door neighbors who are MAGAs. They're afraid. But I think there's a lot of closet voters out there that are going to vote Democratic, that are registered Republicans. All right, so now I'm going to just share with you something personal because it was like a moment that really changed everything. So now, yesterday morning, I went to traffic court. Now, I already beat that stupid parking violation because it wasn't my car. I was disabled when that car was ticketed, and I came in with all this evidence and I proved it. And I'll get a letter in probably about a week. I would say I'm 99.9% sure it's going away because Larry David, the lookalike who handled my case, said, he was like trying to be really nice, like, just don't worry about it. He couldn't come out and say, you're fine, but he was like, just get on with your life, don't worry about it. So now I have a second challenge. I really got hit by a lot of stuff last month. I got a camera ticket that allegedly had me going through a intersection illegally. And I got it while I was disabled. I'm like, oh my God. So I made a couple of phone calls and I got an arraignment date. Like, I'm not going to pay this. I'm going to fight it. Okay, then we'll set you up with a court date. And so that's where I was yesterday morning. I drove to this courthouse, which was very difficult to find. I found a parking space on the street that said 1 hour. And I thought it was going to be like the other appointment I had with Larry David. Like, I'll be in and I'll be out. Oh, no. well, first of all, oh, I want to show you something. I'm going to get up again. Hold on. I want to show you something. I got a gift many years ago. A woman I know named Audrey Hope, I worked with for many years, and she actually has a YouTube channel. She brought me back a crystal from Venezuela. It's really special. I don't know how well you can see it. It's really special. I love this crystal. One of the reasons I love it is how it fits in my palm. It's like it was made for my palm. And I feel that it gives me calm. It helps me channel, and it's very grounding. So it doesn't leave the house, except yesterday morning. You see, I have it, everything's fine. I decided to take it with me, and I have this little pocket purse that just goes over my shoulders, and I just wanted it with me. So I get to the courthouse, and of course, you just pour everything onto trays so they can make sure you're safe. You don't have any guns, you don't have any metal. And I go through it, and this officer finds the crystal in my little pocket purse and says, you can't take this in. And I went, a crystal? I can't? I went, oh my God, I don't have time to take it back to my car. He said, well, do you want to go outside and just hide it somewhere? He was trying to be helpful. So I went, yeah, let me do that. So I went outside the courthouse, and there's a lawn and all kinds of stuff. It's an area where there's a lot of federal business, you know, official buildings and stuff like that. I look around, I do see someone homeless, but I see a little corner, and the corner is, it's all concrete. It's not like a door or a window. And I go to the floor, I go to the cement in the corner where there's some leaves, and I put it in the corner, and I covered it up with leaves, and I made a promise to myself, you will not forget this after this is over. So now this is like on the right near the grass, hidden by some leaves. So I go in, and there's quite a few people in the courtroom, and there's only like 2 white people for the most part. It was me and another woman, and they had a section for people who had camera violations. So it took them a while to get started, and they had 2 or 3 interpreters there. They had 2 women that could speak Farsi and came in, and they stand up with the person who can't speak English very well, and they mediate. There's a Spanish woman there, and so they kept going through all these violations, and there was a female judge, middle-aged female judge, who came off as very kindly and relaxed and nice. And she was very patient with everybody. And what I noticed was, with every person, some were going to go to traffic school, some were going to pay a fine. She lowered the fines for every single person. Well, this is $35. I'm going to bring it down to $15. This is $300 total. I'm going to bring it down to $258. She kept lowering the fines, and I thought, wow, that is cool. So now this courtroom is emptying out. I'm sitting there. I'm thinking about my car that only has an hour, and now I'm into an hour and a half sitting there. And now there's nobody left except me and this other woman who had camera. Now, before that, a bailiff walked over, and I think a bailiff is an officer. I mean, he's dressed very like an officer, but he came over and said, do you 2 have camera violations? And we both said yes. And he said, well, you see that there was a big piece of paper like with a website, and he goes, put that website into your phone, then put in your citation number, and it will bring up your moving vehicle, and it could be very helpful. So I was like, okay. So I'm sitting there, and okay, it came up. Put in your citation. I put in my citation number. It came up, and the video of me pulling up to this intersection comes up, and the bailiff comes over, and he looks at it, and he goes, you stopped. You didn't drive through the intersection. You stopped. Well, I kind of wouldn't have understood that. I know that sounds kind of stupid of me, but I didn't know how to read this video and what to really look for. And he was an angel, the bailiff. And he said to me, "You're probably going to get this dismissed today. Just have this ready when you go up in front of the judge." So I get called in front of the judge, and how do you plead? I pled not guilty. Now, nobody told me to plead not guilty. I just kind of read some stuff and I went, okay, I think for my own good, I'm going to plead not guilty. We'll see where this goes. And then I hold up my phone. The bailiff comes over, takes my phone, walks it over to the judge, and she looks at it and she looks at it and she goes, "You stopped. I'm dismissing this ticket." So that was going to cost me $567. That ticket. There was a reason to show up in that courtroom and fight it. So now I get out, and all during it, I'm like, do not forget the crystal. Do not forget the crystal. I went out the front door, turned to the left, go to the corner, push the dry leaves, and there's the crystal waiting for me. So that was great. Now I'm walking to my car, which is probably about 2 blocks, and I'm thinking, so now I'm probably going to get like an $85 ticket because I've been there for 2.5 hours. No ticket on my car. No ticket on my car. And it's in front of the sign that says 1 hour parking. So it was good. It was good, and I'm sharing it with you. My last challenge is passing the driver's test, which I failed twice. And I've been studying a lot. In fact, when I get off here, I'm going to study. And now the weather's better, and I got rid of these 2 violations, which I was innocent. Really proud of myself, I got to tell you. Fought the good fight. And now I just have to get this written driver's test completed. But there was good energy this week. It's almost like things just like opened up. In fact, I was leaving my physical therapy and I pull out and I'm feeling like one of my tires is flat or something weird. I'm hearing a sound. Make a right onto the side street and there's a young man. He notices me and then I go around another corner. I'm like, there's something wrong with my tire. I don't know what's going on. I can't believe it. It's 105 out. So I pull over to a zone. I get out of my car. Now he turns, the guy who's walking, and I get out of my car and I look at the tire and it doesn't look like there's anything wrong with the tire. So he says to me, "I think you've got something underneath the front of your car that's dragging." And he said, "Excuse me, I'm on the phone." So he literally comes over. He gets down on his knees and he looks under my car and he finds this piece of plastic that's supposed to be there, but it's become detached. And he puts it back for me. I wouldn't have known how to do it. He puts it back for me in 105-degree weather. So I think I'm going to pass the written test because this is how I do it. I watch the way energy is going. And it informs me. And that's what I do when I do stuff with you, when I do it about my own life. I watch how the energy is moving. And so there's been a lot of little pieces of good evidence. And I went, you can pass this test now. It's like the door's opened, you're going to be fine. And I'll probably go in on Friday. And if you think about it, just wish me well. Just wish me well. I think I'm going to hypnotize myself too. So let's take. I'm done. I thought it would take less time, but we're just gonna. Pete just insists on turning his back to you. Come on, sweetie. Come on. Whoops. Oh, look what you did, Pete. Look what you did. Look what you did. Everything. Now don't go away. I'm about to show you off. Come here, Pete. Turn around. Oh my God, everything's falling apart. But here's Pete. Here's Petey. He never gets mad at me. He's a little annoyed right now, but He was sleeping, but he never gets mad at me. Okay, Pete, we're good. All right, I'll be back. I have more stuff to discuss, but this is about Kamala today. And I'm preparing the next video. Thank you for all your comments. I learn things from you. I mean, I get notes that aren't hostile at all. They're helpful. I get my hostile ones, but you know, like, this is how you pronounce Jen's name. There's no P. You don't have to worry about the P. It's Saki. So that was very helpful. And you know, I get information, I get compliments when I don't know something. Someone comes along and said, no, that's not correct. And you all are very helpful. I feel like we're all doing this together. Anyway, I gotta go study the driver's handbook. And this is really cool, and I'm really happy that Taylor Swift, she's very powerful. You know, I can't call myself a Swiftie. I love her. I'm too old to be a Swiftie, but she's very powerful, and she's using it for good, and it's so refreshing. And I'm so happy she's going to Florida, and she could make a difference. She could make a difference. Okay, my friends, bye-bye. Feel good today. Bye-bye.